Welcome, everyone, to our 2023 Carbys celebration year-end activities. Very important for AirMiners, for our culture. We are going to have a biggest Carbys ever that we've since doing this. We started this event in 2020, so this is our fourth Carbys. And I'm happy to say that the event has grown and developed, and we've got a largest crowd that we've ever seen for our year-end Carbys event. We're going to have quite a few people give stories today as part of what we do. We have Shashank Samala. Hey, Shashank, and we'll be hearing from you in a hot second. Wanted to give some remarks of my own before we get started on culture and why we're here. And what really occurred to me in thinking about this is a phrase from marketer Seth Godin, that people like us do things like this. And that defines AirMiners, that we are a special crew, we're a special group, carbon removal is a special industry, and people like us do things like this to keep our culture alive and vibrant. You know, I could talk about all sorts of things that have happened over carbon removal over the last year. That AirMiners has grown. We've got almost 2,500 people in our community. Launchpad has about 120 graduates who've raised, about $100 million of funding. The industry has grown in terms of carbon tonnage. Heirloom had its first commercial site come online just a few weeks ago. The offtake agreements have increased in scale. That's great. Connective tissue. That there's all sorts of new types of organizations springing up. Places like CDR FYI have grown quite a bit over the last 12 months. Places like the Carbon Business Council, places like places like the Biochar Association that's growing up in Latin America. The French Biochar, the French Carbon Removal Association, the German Biochar, the German Carbon Removal Association. All these new organizations to be the sinews of the carbon removal community are springing up. And you know why? It's because people like us do things like this. We are at the start of an industry. We're starting companies. We're starting our journey into carbon removal. Most importantly, one of the reasons why we do this is that we want to celebrate stories and recognize others who are making our community, making our culture very distinct and special. Again, people like us do things like this. We want to talk about others. One of the watchwords I have for my own activities in 2024 is to humanize the industry more, to draw out these stories. It's not just at the Carbys where we do things like this. It's the other 364 days out of the year where people every day recognize others, where stories that people can tell about themselves or about others in the carbon removal community. That's what is most important to making the industry really sing. The aliveness of a community of practice really hinges on the ability to tell stories about the community and about others who are out there and making a difference every single day. And it's not just the stories of people. It could be the effect they have on the world. It could be the people who were meeting in person. I mean, places like Carbon Unbound. I don't know if anyone from Carbon Unbound is in the call, but good to see you if you are. Tito and part of Fielder just came back from the COP meeting in Dubai, Conference of Parties, where some really interesting stuff happened just when the gavel came down, not even like 12 hours ago. So people like us do things like this. You can even follow us now on Instagram, on AirMiners_CDR on Instagram. For those of you who want to follow along. I'm often asked how to help. When people join the community, I'm also, how can I help AirMiners? And the answer is to, how do you help? Help each other. Help each other find opportunities, help each other get to where you all want to go in carbon removal, make your dreams become a reality. Share your stories. That's the best way, I think, that you can help AirMiners, as we are a community of people doing amazing things. Again, people like us do things like this. And if the past culture that we've seen bears out even more so in the future in vibrant colors, then we're going to get to fulfill AirMiners' mission statement of removing the first 1 billion tons of CO2 from the atmosphere by the end of 2030. And we will have done things like that sooner than anyone else thinks is possible. And with that, I just want to leave and say thank you again for coming. What we're going to do today, just walk through some logistics. First, we'll hear from Shashank, and then we will hear from you all. Note that this is being recorded and will be on our YouTube channel in a day or two. The idea is to share a story, recognizing others who have helped you. When you do so, we will track down who that person is and send them a thanks-a-ton.earth card, which has carbon removal, and I believe including Heirloom on it, that has with the ability to remove carbon from the atmosphere by donating donating. AirMiners will donate money to make that carbon removal card delivered to the recipient, the person who gets recognized. That's what's called giving a Carby. We tried this one year where we had like judges and awards and little prizes, and that was great. But what we really want to do is celebrate the community today. And with that, just want to say once more, thank you. We'll be here till the top of the hour. We've got 60 minutes on your calendar. I'm personally going to hang around for a little bit after that because I feel like it's really important to hear everyone's story out. Even if you haven't yet said that you want to share a story and you want to jump in, feel free. I've got about 24 people, 25 people who want to share a story, 2 minutes each, just so that we can get to you all, because that's something that, I know it's really tough to compress because goodness knows. But we want to hear from you all as much as we can. And with that, once more, thank you. And Shashank, please, love to hear from you and hear your comments.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Jason. It's really an honor to share some remarks. I've been part of this community from the beginning, and sort of seeing the community evolve and seeing the industry evolve. It's been sort of mind-boggling the last few years. So want to make sure how much time do you have?
5 minutes.
Okay, yeah. So I just have 3 things to share. Jason and Tito, you asked me, just like, hey, here's what are a few reflections from the year? This is a close-knit community. I guess this will be published on YouTube, I guess. So I'll just be honest about these 3 things. I think for us, for those of you who followed Heirloom this year, it's been quite a year. It's been externally, it's sort of like everything is going great. I mean, this is awesome, but it just takes so much to be able to build projects. So I think the 3 things to share. The first thing is I think I really underestimated how we've basically been from a science and engineering company to a project development, project execution company this year. And that transition, we thought we were going to be hard, but it was about 10 times harder than we thought. Putting steel in the ground and permitting projects, especially in places like California, bringing in power when there is not enough capacity on the grid, or PG&E takes a long time, or getting project commissioned and operational, and ensuring that you meet the ramp timelines, and it's doing things as a prototype and in the lab, building, making things work on the bench is so different in terms of skill sets. It's like you have mechanical engineers, controls engineers, and process engineers in the lab, but then when you go to the site, it's suppliers and manufacturers, plumbers, electricians, welders, machinists, like city council members, right? Like policymakers. It really takes a whole village orchestrate to be able to put a project out there. And it's sort of the first commercial project in the US, second only to Climeworks in the world. But I think some of the best companies and most resilient companies will make that transition. We certainly learned a lot this year, and so that's my first lesson. The second reflection is that the most important things when building a CDR company are often not glamorous. And I think one main example I have is we had this big goal this year to basically transition to a bankable company, a bankable project. And as many of solar and wind projects have been built based on being able to attract project financing and infrastructure capital, which has a much lower cost of capital to build. And that's an important element because cost per kilowatt hour, cost per ton is directly correlated to cost of capital, right? Like you can't use venture capital to build projects, to put steel on the ground. I often say for every dollar in venture you raise, you have to raise $1,000 in infrastructure capital and project financing. And but like when we say that out loud, what actually takes is one of the main things is when you sign these contracts with customers, there's all of these little things like termination clauses and what happens if you don't quite meet the operational date, or if you don't meet your throughput. What if you're under the throughput by the date? Like there's so many outs normally these contracts have, and the goal for bankability is to reduce the number of those outs, because banks, product finance folks don't want to take risk. And so, we spent just many months, over a year, just like trying to structure these contracts. Like there's all these things that are not glamorous, but like that's actually what made us to create these bankable templates now, so that the rest of the industry can take these in place. We actually share that with the Department of Energy, and they'll be publishing those templates. But this is an incredibly important element for maturing the industry, to be able to make projects bankable, and how you structure these what we calling CRPs, carbon removal purchasing agreements, the same sort of analogy of power purchasing agreements. And we've been through a lot, and hopefully we'll make the folks behind us much easier their path. So yeah, when things are not glamorous and other people don't, you're probably working on the right thing and an important thing. I think the third reflection I have, I've had, I've traveled a lot this year. I've been, fortunately, I've been invited to, be at, important roundtables, small roundtables with, CEOs of BPs and Exxons and Bill Gates and all those, and to be a voice for CDR in these conversations. And, I think the biggest reflection is like, there's just no shortage of amount of education we still have to do to raise awareness for the importance of CDR. Like I think oftentimes, at least I find myself in this echo chamber in a bubble. It's like, oh, everyone I talk to just already knows the importance of DAC and CDR. So like the world absolutely is probably thinking the same way, but it doesn't take that much to get into these conversations. And I have to start from the beginning, right? Like why it's important. And there's two things. There's one, most of the world is still very skeptical about the potential impact of CDR and DAC, whether it can be a potential climate solution. Like these are folks who believe climate change is happening and are gung-ho about decarbonization, but very skeptical about DAC and CDR. And I think we have to win these hearts and minds, right? Like we can't just say, hey, it's like, I'm not gonna talk to you. And I think we have to keep doing this education. That's why this community is so important. We have to build this grassroots movement about the importance of this. And the other thing I learned is also, moral hazard. As much as we say, it's like, scientists and IPCC has shown that it shouldn't be a thing. This is not an or, right? It should be decarbonization and CDR, and we've been talking about it for a long time. But I think there is still like some of the most profound scientists are raising alarm around moral hazard. And I think there needs to be a set of principles around how we work with oil and gas and so forth. And Heirloom released those principles earlier this year. But again, it still goes to show this amount of education we need to do. If there is one existential risk about CDR growing over the next 10, 15 years, it's this. It's that this is not treated as a real climate solution, and two, that this distracts from decarbonization, which obviously we both of which we disagree with. So having said that, I'm just incredibly elated about, like, it's been an incredibly tough year, but I've just been incredibly elated by just how much CDR has evolved this year. Super proud of customers like Microsoft who've gone so who are just like making big moves to evolve the industry, and folks like the Heirloom team has just been so amazing this year. So those are the three things in my mind.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Hip hip hooray. Thank you for the story. What critical to what we just heard is that the stories that we tell, how we talk about CDR to others, how we humanize the industry is crucially important. And that's why, again, sharing these stories today is a start for that. It's not, and to be clear, it's not just today at the Carbys, it's the other 364 days out of the year where we can tell these stories and talk about specific people doing amazing things. Speaking of someone who's doing something very specific and amazing, we're going to start with stories now. I'm going to start with a person who's probably up the latest in his time zone. Tank Chen. We'd love to hear, and we're going to have to do really quickly, 2 minutes. We'd love to hear your story of recognition and what's been most interesting for you with AirMiners. Go ahead, Tank, you got the floor.
All right, hi everyone. Looking very much forward to speaking today. So I'll make it brief. Yeah, I think AirMiner was the best thing that happened to me post-COVID. Honestly, I fell into the CDR rabbit hole, as I usually put it, through Ross and Siobhan's podcast on reversing climate change, and it took about 6 or 7 months until there was one episode where they had Nisha on there and she was talking about AirMiners, and then I was like, what's that? And then she was saying that, starting a CDR company is really hard, and when you see people come up with ideas, like, give them a thumb up, and then the next episode was with Adina and Tito. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, now I know what AirMiner is, right? And there's BootUp and there's a Launchpad. And then, back then, naive as I was thinking like, oh, Launchpad sounds like something I could do. But then join the BootUp first and then go through with the BootUp. I was like, yeah, starting the CDR company is not easy. So anyways, I was really glad to go through that BootUp program. My teammate, Seth is working on the Epify project with OpenAir, and now they build this this stack machine, room size stack machines, is really cool. And then through AirMiner program, after you graduate, there's a list of the resources, and the first one was OpenAir. So that's how I met Chris Neidl. I want to thank Chris. He was the reason that I was able to attend COP last week and met Tito in person. So this all fell together because of AirMiners, and then through that I met I talked to Jason, and I worked in the carbon industry in Taiwan for about 6 months, and I didn't meet anybody. People thought that I was too fresh. People didn't want to introduce me to anybody. I got on the call with Jason. 6 minutes later, he already emailed, looped me in with Lethos, Takachar. It was amazing. I was like, wow, I know this guy for 6 minutes. He's already, like, I'm already talking to people. So thank you, Jason, for that. Yeah, and then Toby Rice from OpenAir, and also a big part of AirMiners community. Yeah, Toby put me on the Well, actually, Jason reached out after BootUp and asked me if I wanted to moderate a one of our AirMiners event, and at that time I was like, whoa, what? Me, really? And then I went through that. Craig Stokes was, you know, very supportive, and throughout the whole thing, he taught me a lot about, you know, how to sort of operate and present yourself in the CDR in the community. So thank you, Craig. And the following week, Toby Bryce asked me if I wanted to co-host This is CDR. So I went from Jason asking me and me saying, "Oh, really? Why me?" to when Toby asked me, I was like, "Yeah, heck yeah, I want to. Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah."
Yeah.
So that was a big part. And then after that, I
Cool.
met Laura and Tesaria from Thanks a Ton. You know, they've been very supportive of what I was doing. And then through there,
Cool.
I met anyways. Later on, I met Robert Hoagland, which is also part of the AirMiners community. And through him, I was able to volunteer for the CDR.FI team
Mm-hmm.
and going
Thank you.
on there to met the map. And then Jason from Direct Air Capture Coalition gave me a lot of feedback on the maps. And so that's yeah.
Hank.
And I want to say Lisa, Quinton, Cozy, Alex, Lydia, Chen, Naeem, you guys all AirMiners, you guys have all been really supportive. And thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Tank. Want to get really short and to the point. Thank you for that. Next up, Deborah Greywolf from our own
Hey,
AirMiners team.
everybody. If you haven't met me yet, I'm Deborah Greywolf, and I'm the newest AirMiner. And I want to acknowledge the AirMiners team. First, Adina, who reached out to me and knew that this was the place that I belonged. Jason, for making every event fun and constantly on the search for how to expand the AirMiners mission and make our community bigger. Tito, for implicitly trusting your team that we will take the actions that we know will make a difference, and you just give us that space. And finally, to all of the Launchpad teams, thank you. Thank you for trusting us. Thank you for being there on the front lines, and as Shashank said, doing the difficult things, because I know that you're making a difference for me and my family and the world's future. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Yay! Great. I'm gonna go over to Lisa Woodard from the Climate Agency. Lisa, 2 minutes.
Hi, I've got my mute back off now. Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Lisa, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Climate Agency, which is a non-profit marketing agency that's 100% focused on climate startups. So I had my main reflection this year, and because Climate Agency is only 18 months old, that's most of my co-founder life. My reflection really was that, you know, setting up an agency is hard, but carbon removal and climate in general is, you know, even harder. It's such a complex area. So every day is a learning day, and you never know enough. So what I've come to realize is that collaboration is really key. And I think that's where the carbon removal community really excels. There are like just so many people I could mention and give Carbys, but I just had a few that I wanted to highlight. And Jason, you should definitely be there. I know I'm not allowed to give you a Carby, but you know, you've been so supportive. So you've got a token one anyway. So the first person that I would love to offer a Carby to is Bella from Carbon Business Council. She's based in London, so it's been really lucky we were able to see each other a lot. She's just so knowledgeable and just really generous with that knowledge and her time. So she's always really accessible for sharing ideas, gives up a lot of her time, did quite recently for us. So, you know, really like to thank her. The next is actually one of our advisors who advises voluntarily, so David Addison, who's head of climate and net zero innovation at Virgin. And he is just so knowledgeable, brings so much wisdom and cheer. I just find him really funny, as well as a brilliant brain, gives great reading tips. And he's just one of those people that when you catch up with him, it just sparks something in you. And I've always come away with an idea, which is brilliant. And finally, I know we've got James on here. I wanted to mention Tom Merriman, one of the founders of Kita Insurance, one of our clients from earlier this year. They're doing something really interesting because they're bringing a different skill set to carbon. And, you know, as startups, they're super busy, but Tom always makes the effort to engage with us on LinkedIn. He's referred us to both accelerators and to clients. So, you know, we really appreciate that effort when, you know, he's a startup himself. So yeah, that's it. I just was going to say, you know, happy holidays to everyone and thank you to all the collaborators.
Hear, 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 hear. We've talked about startups. Let's hear from a startup now. Kareem Ramani, and not just, but and a Launchpad alum to boot. Kareem,
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
long
Yeah,
time.
glad to. Yeah, long time. No, see, I've been thinking about 2030 and haven't been so active as I wished this year with AirMiners. However, I was just thinking that practically everyone I talked to in France, developing our startup here, talking, doing some lobbying with the French government, like everyone is an AirMiner. I mean, so the ecosystem is full of people who have been through at least the BootUp and are members of the community. So I just wanted to give a shout out to one of them, which is actually a guy I randomly met on a fair in France, and he had a booth next to mine, and we were just talking. He had an advisory shop for carbon capture, so nothing to do with normally carbon removal, but then, you know, talking around coffee, he told me, yeah, I have this side project. I'm going to do a startup about capturing CO2 into some form of construction materials. And I told him, yeah, did you hear about the AirMiners? He didn't. And so this guy since then has applied and went through the BootUp. Probably he's going through the, at some point, maybe through the Launchpad. And I'm just thinking, you know, if this guy pulls 1 million tons of CO2 out of the atmosphere by 2030, and all of us do that, no, there you go. You have your billion, your gigaton. So that was my small contribution to the community this year. And shout out to Fabien Michel, a new member of AirMiners. And happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you, Kareem. Again, it can happen really quickly. That's one of the things from Kareem's story. That's also from what we heard from Tank earlier, and Deborah and Lisa. I mean, like many of you were not part of AirMiners just 12 months ago. And one of the amazing things about our industry, I feel like it doesn't take very long to get to the forefront of everything that's going on in carbon removal. For all the vast potential that we have in front of us, it still plays very, very small. Everybody knows everybody else. And getting out of that bubble is also extremely important, as Shashank had mentioned. And telling the stories of others can be a way of getting the messaging right, so that we can grow the industry even more by getting more people inspired and moving toward our goal. So with next up, we're going to go with Mr. Jason Hockman of the Direct Air Capture Coalition. Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Thank all of you. And I think that actually is a nice segue, because you're absolutely right. This is such a small space. It is a bubble, but it's also so warm and welcoming right now in a way that all of the people who are on this call and are in this space are accessible and want to see each other succeed. That I found to be really inspiring and in a really, in a real world sense, impactful. People are generous with their time, with their ideas, with their networks and connections. And I think that is really a testament to this community that you, Jason, Tito, and the whole AirMiners team have been able to build, because people understand that there's a lot more to be gained from collaboration and building this sector such that it no longer is a bubble, to reach the planetary scale carbon removal that we need. I can tell you that there have been times when I've spoken to people who want to get into carbon removal, and I might not really know what the best approach or like what their exact skill set should lead to, but I always refer them to AirMiners, and I tell them, join AirMiners, post something. I guarantee you that someone will respond or will reach out to you, and you will have a conversation because of that. And that's just, I have no doubt in my mind that if anyone posts there, they will have conversations because of it. And it is such an invaluable tool for this community that you have built as we are growing beyond this bubble, so that people can become engaged in this space. And I think you all should, pat yourselves on the back and everyone give a hand to to Jason, Tito, and the AirMiners team for creating this invaluable resource for carbon removal.
Again, we can only stand on the shoulders of giants, my friend. So, you know, thank you, Jason. Next up, let's go with Lydia Chen. Lydia?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Jason, for I wanted to just quickly share. So I joined because of Tom, also from Kita, told me about this community. I joined at a time that I was looking for, I was in a career transition. I was already involved in the carbon removal industry, but I wasn't sure whether I would still be able to do that. But then this community is so welcome and supportive. I wanted to give a huge shout out to Tito and Jason, and also Tang, and thanks a ton. All of those people just give me a sense of community that makes me realize no matter how other things are going to, like how other things in other industries happening, that this industry is not going away, and we are AirMiners gonna stay here for a couple of decades. And I wanted to quote Steve Jobs, who said, "The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do." So, and it is exactly as what Jason said at the beginning of this call, people like us do things like this. I have a structured finance background and securitization background. I was writing this CDR paper to write a patient piece. I wanted a 5-minute podcast. So I dropped the link in the chat. So please do give a listen and give me feedback. Anything. Happy holidays.
Okay. Thank you. All good. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you. Monica Rosbal.
Hi,
As they say in the Netherlands, you're up.
What?
You're up.
I don't get the joke.
You're up.
Here?
As they say in the Netherlands, you're up.
I've only been in the Netherlands 2 months, so if it's a local joke, I don't get it.
Geography joke. Sorry. That fell flat. Monica, go ahead. Oh,
Cool.
come on.
So cool. So I wanted to actually share a memory that I often think about from that kind of illustrates a little bit of my journey from working with Heirloom to now working with CO2 in the ocean CDR space. And it was the memory of my kind of first day. It talks about the importance of having a vision and how to operationalize that vision, basically. So on my first day, I remember we had an onboarding, and it was incredible how clear, the future vision was, and how absolutely every person that I met from at that moment 50 people team at Heirloom was aligned towards that goal in their, even if they were in different parts of the business, right? So all linked together. And then as from that day, I was very impressed by the consistency on my first day, and during the 3 months I was there, how everyone looked to that vision and those goals. And if there were decisions to make, they would say like, hey, this does not correspond to the vision. Let's make the necessary decisions. So I often fast forward to today, to my journey with CO2. We're in the ocean carbon removal space with a direct ocean capture approach. I often feel daunting. It's a very exciting space, very exciting vision. Of course, a lot of unknowns. So I often, kind of close my eyes and think of this moment and think of this importance of having a vision and kind of having everyone look towards that vision and really work and make decisions around that. So when it feels daunting, and I close my eyes and I think, how can I use that tool? So I thought that I could share that with with all of you, because I'm sure that that vision might help, because sometimes it is daunting, but we're all working towards that gigaton.
Yep. And I'm confident we'll get there sooner than anyone thinks.
Mhm.
Angel Pedroza. You ready?
I'm here. Yes.
Go for it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angel Pedrosa. First of all, I want to thank everyone. This is my first time at a Carby event, but if I had to give someone a Carby award, it had to be Adina. Actually, she helps us a lot, guiding us through. When we started AirMiners, we were also doing our fundraising, and her pointers helped dramatically. So Adina, thank you very much. Tito, your guidance into the pitch deck, I have used that for more carbon credit sales that I can think of. So your pointers always appreciated. And to the whole AirMiners team, when we did the pitch for both the buyers, I still get people trying to connect with me. So the benefits are incredible. The learning experience was amazing. I see some familiar faces here, and it's good to be part of something like this. So I don't want to take too much of time, because I know we have a lot of people, but thank you so much, everyone. And it was definitely worth it.
Thank you,
Although
Angel.
the time difference was always, it was always for lunchtime. I was always hungry after the meeting, but it was good. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, realizing that there have been people in Australia and New Zealand, shout out to Australian and New Zealanders out there, who are up at some ridiculous hour of their morning to go to Launchpad. So yeah. Laura Katayama, please.
Well, thank you, Jason. I want to say that I'm really thankful for the existence of AirMiners and BootUp and Launchpad and Tito, Jason, AirMiners team, and everyone that keeps AirMiners going. It's so important. And I'm glad for the opportunity to work alongside the many brilliant scientists, engineers, hard tech builders, and policy experts that are focused on launching CDR. And there's so many people here today that have helped me along the way. There were 2 recent events that were really helpful: the small to mid-sized businesses as CDR buyers, and the Carbon Open Canvas to help build and refine a 10-sentence pitch. And then I'd like to close by saying, for anyone switching careers to work in climate like I have, I want to say, believe in yourself, that you can learn the science and make a difference. We're going to need a lot of people from outside the science and engineering teams to work in these new companies that are being created. And there's a lot to learn. As business people join these communities, they'll focus on business, not as much on the science. And I hope we can keep the focus on solving climate change, because that's what we're here to do.
Great. Thank you, Laura. I'm going to shift a little bit to call the number of our Launchpad team, this time in the person of Adina Mangabat.
Thank you. I would like to acknowledge all of the Launchpad teams for taking the coaching. I know that our program can be pretty intense. It's quite demanding at times. And I just acknowledge all of you for taking the coaching, for trying on things that felt uncomfortable, for putting yourselves out there at demo day, for being direct and asking for the investment that you're looking for applying to Kiloton Fund. We're so excited about that. And there's going to be more announcements about that later that I can't speak about now, but I'm so proud of you all. So thank you so much for doing that. Second person I'd like to acknowledge is Grant Faber. Grant, you have been at pretty much every single Launchpad, and you have taught everybody about TEAs and LCAs and the importance of that. You've helped numerous of our companies coming out of Launchpad get their TEAs and LCAs in shape such that they can kick ass when they're in diligence with investors. And you have been educating investors as to how on earth to do diligence from the TEA and LCA perspective. And I just want to thank you so much for being so generous with your time and for leading the charge in that particular arena, because it's such an important conversation. for making sure that we're actually removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So thank you, Grant.
Awesome. Grant, anything to add to that?
Oh, didn't really prepare anything, but well, thank you very much, Adina, for saying that. Yeah, I guess just thinking, 3 letters come to mind. LFG. To some people, that means landfill gas. Hey, maybe you can combust it, some biogenic CO2, you can sequester it for carbon removal. But to me, it means landfill gas, but also let's fucking go. Okay, we got real momentum, so
Indeed.
let's just keep it going. So yeah,
Indeed.
thanks all, and let's just keep pushing and hold the line.
Yeah. For a second there, I thought you were going to say 3 letters, TEA. But, you know, okay, fair enough. LFG it is. Dylan, Percival Maxwell, please.
Hi, so I'm from carbonface.org. I encourage everyone, particularly in the biochar industry, to join our social network and show people what you do at our Facebook group, Biochar Carbon Credits by Carbonface. Where we try to focus on encouraging very, very small time carbon sequesterers, like people who produce a kilo a day while they cook. We're trying to help the people who are otherwise not helped. Everyone knows that the smaller the operation is, the harder it is to get carbon credits. One of the things I want to do with this opportunity to talk to you all is encourage everyone, even people who find things going very slow, not to give up. I formed a group which was we started the first pilot project for biodiesel in Canada back in the early 90s, and it took us 7 years to go anywhere. For the first 7 years, we went absolutely nowhere. And eventually we struck a deal with the city bus company and Maple Leaf Foods, which were trying to find something to do with their cows after mad cow disease. So I find what we're doing here slow. We got a lot of people working in Africa. We haven't raised any funds yet. We're trying to encourage companies to list, not to say they're going to be carbon neutral, which is often far from reality or dream, but to actually list the carbon footprint on their product of that product. And that's starting to happen. And if anybody wants to work with us in that regard, it'd be much appreciated. And coming to AirMiners has always been a joy. I have so much fun every time I'm here, and I always learn a lot. And thanks to everyone for what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. Next up, hot news from the UAE, where the COP meeting just ended, is Abdulaziz Redha, also a Launchpad alumnus. Please, Aziz.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jason. Well, when we joined AirMiners just over a year ago, we had no idea what we're doing. But Jason, Tito, Adina, you were like, you really guided us. I'm here with Ava, by the way, my co-founder. To give you a quick intro, what we do, we grow microalgae to remove carbon dioxide, and we process that to produce bioproducts to regenerate desert sand into arable soil. So during Launchpad, we were like, "Ooh, shiny! I want to do all of these." And Tito, Adina, and Jason were like, "Focus! I need you to focus." And it really, really helped us. So that's the first real benefit that we got from AirMiners. The second one was being introduced to an amazing community. So Grant Faber, thank you so much. Without his assistance and his generosity with the TEA, we wouldn't have been where we are today. Tito is still has been massive support to us up until last week. We have massive news from COP28, where we signed an MOU with the government in the UAE, where we got free money, grant funding from them. We had, thank you. We had investments. So again, from our first VC investment, and we're doing quite a lot of work. I remember Tito. If you ever met Tito in person, he's really tall, which is amazing. I never knew that. So we have a picture coming out tomorrow. Follow us on Instagram and follow AirMiners CDR. You'll see how short I am and how tall Tito is right next to me. And he's been great support to us. He ran just to make sure that MOU signing, that he was there for it. And I'll leave with this last word. Till today, he's still giving us a great advice. When I was like, oh, okay, shit, I gotta deliver now. He's like, today you're having your champagne moment. Tomorrow you could have your oh shit moment, but for now we celebrate. So I really appreciate this community. Tito, Jason, Adina, Grant, you've been with us since day one and you're still with us today. So I love this. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Aziz. Tristan Springer.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So yeah, I just want to talk about like the connective tissue that is AirMiners. So I joined in July after finding out about it from going to the Biochar Academy. And then literally the next month in August, I started working on a company with my co-founder, John, who's also in AirMiners. And then in October, joined Launchpad. And then now, you know, we have enough runway for a year. So I just want to say thank you for everyone in AirMiners for kind of getting us started, getting us going. And particularly Jason for being a big biochar proponent and for always hitting us with the best intro music. Adina for ripping apart our pitch in the best way possible. Tito for the brainstorming sessions and just connective tissue abilities. Deborah for just making sure everything works on time and just everything is working. And then yeah, another one for Grant Faber, just always being available. LCA, TEA, super big help. So yeah, thanks everyone, and that's it.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Tito. Speaking of Tito, he's been mentioned several times today. Haven't heard from you yet, my friend.
Hey, I'm joined by my mom here. She just flew in from Hawaii a couple of days ago, so wanted to acknowledge her for being here. I wanted to acknowledge Ross Kenyon. My journey in carbon removal, like a lot of people began in knowing Ross, but it was different because at that point, I don't think the Nori podcast even existed. And over the years, Ross has been such a contribution to carbon removal, and he brings in voices from all around the carbon removal community, people from AirMiners, people who are starting companies, people who have new ideas. In my own experiences on the Reversing Climate Change podcast, I found Ross to always be really encouraging. For me, there was always this sense of, you know, I remember hanging up on one of the podcasts and debriefing with Ross, just saying like, oh my gosh, like it doesn't go how I think it's going to go in my head. In my head, I'm like, it's going to be this great message. And, you know, I remember Ross just saying like, you know, like he really was like, yeah, you know, I really want you to come through as you. I want you to be the person that I know in our private conversations. And so this couple days ago, I was at COP and I got to hop on with Ross, and I was live in Dubai, and we had a great conversation. It's coming out soon, and I just really wanted to acknowledge Ross for always, yeah, really being committed to my own authentic voice for myself, and I can see that every time there's a new episode that comes out, that's that same commitment from Ross to you know, just really help people express themselves. So thank you to Carby to Ross.
All right, thank you, Tito. Jorn Wegner.
Hi, Jason. You hear me?
Hello, sir. Yep, can you hear you? We can hear you. We can see you. We've got 2 minutes.
Okay. Can I present shortly my second research?
Well, it's more about who you want to recognize in the community.
Okay. Well, I will thank you. I will be briefly. I learned a lot from AirMiners. Thanks to Jason, thanks to Tito, and all the stuff who is always helping when I have some, como se dice in Spanish, duda. And so I thank you very much. And when is the next time new meeting, I will present my second research. It's okay? Thank you very much, and
Sure.
Good luck for all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. By the way, the community would always like to recognize Tito's mom for basically you know, making a Tito in the world. So thank you for that. There aren't enough thanks a ton cards to give. So thank you for that. Great. Next up, Rupa Dhanamudi from XPRIZE.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Jason. Love the tie. Hi, everyone. I'm Rupa Dandamudi. I work with the XPRIZE carbon removal team. I just wanted to give a quick shout out and wholehearted thank you to Jason and Tito for just the AirMiners community has been a pretty strong pipeline for us in the XPRIZE carbon removal. We've had several teams who've achieved great success in our competition so far come through AirMiners. And so just thank you for, coming up with AirMiners and growing it to where it is today. One of the main goals of our prize isn't just about having a winner. It's about, growing this industry, and you have played a critical role in that and will continue to. So just thanks from all of us at XPRIZE.
Thank you, Rupa. Really appreciate having XPRIZE as a partner with us along the journey. So yeah, we are at the tail end of all the pre-made people, all the pre-registered people who wanted to give thanks. Who else? Anyone else want to? Oh, Cesaria, please. Feel free to raise your. Anyone else? Feel free to raise your hand.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought I signed up for this already.
No. All good. Please.
I'm gonna read off a script. So after being let go from a corporate indoor farm around this time last year, where leadership was quietly transphobic and openly degrading towards me for speaking out on the company's greenwashing, I wasn't sure if I would ever find my voice in the field of sustainability. Knowing that it was my calling to harvest air, I reached out to Siobhan and Laura, thanks a ton, who enthusiastically took me in and saw me as their equals. I quickly joined the AirMiners BootUp, and it's been just under a year since I started, thanks a ton. And it probably took me a good 8 months before I realized I wouldn't get punished for sharing my thoughts in team meetings the way I did at my corporate job. So shout out to Laura and Siobhan and AirMiners in general, all the people I met during BootUp, for taking me under your wings and showing me I belong in this industry. And shout out to Sloan Ortel, co-founder of Woodcash PVC, for her solidarity as another trans person and vegan in this space. Sloan has been a real inspiration to me to have the courage to use my voice and get comfortable being myself in this professional world.
Thank you, Cesaria. We appreciate you. Doc from Aeon Blue.
I already put it. I didn't know that we were going to get a chance to freestyle. I already put it in the chat. I want to express deep gratitude to Adina for, carving out extra time and giving us. It's hard to give advice. It's hard to tear someone down and build them up and say, here's what you're doing wrong. And I mean, I really appreciate the raw honesty. And Jason, love your music style, love your dad jokes. It didn't fall flat. We were cracking up. And Deborah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for helping us, keep our lives together in one piece. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Doc. Linda Hofflander, go for it.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Linda Hofflander with Carba. I mean, not only the whole AirMiners team, I have to give a shout out for Jason, because I've been presenting for many, many years, 40 years. And I have to tell you, I'm a big believer that you make smart people make decisions fast by just making them make a decision. It was always, what are you trying to say? Tighten it down, be concise, be clear. And I chuckled every time it happened, because it was like, it forced you just to kind of give the most relevant answer. And we've all presented a lot and we all love our own origin stories and whatnot. But I think that having that person just pushing you to like really drill down to what it is, I mean, that's like just the most amazing support, and it obviously paid off. So thank you, Jason and the whole AirMiner team.
Oh, thank you. We are ineligible to receive Tito
I
and I are
know.
ineligible to receive Carbys, just as an FYI.
Yep.
Yep. Matthew, by the way, Matthew, I must say, has the distinction of being a co-founder of AirMiners way back when. So Matthew, please.
It was originally called the Unnamed Institute.
And so my Carby, I guess it comes from a place of I want to appreciate the values of friendship and creativity, and idealism and realism that this thing was founded with. Always silly, but also always serious. And so I want to tell the Thanks a Ton team that you get my Carby, that you're really embodying the silliness and funness and seriousness of this endeavor, and our aspiration to make this accessible to as many people as possible, especially those who want to show up and who want to play. And then also just to the AirMiners organization, congratulations on finally becoming a public benefit corporation. It was a dream from the very beginning in 2016. We said, how do we make this happen? How do we be? What kind of company do we be? And now you're officially a public benefit corporation, continuing to lead in how a company can be, what kind of work we can do. And yeah, so thanks a ton, and happy Carbys, happy 4th Carbys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we have but 2 minutes left until the top of the hour. So like I said, I'm going to be here for a little while afterwards. So we can just keep it rolling here. But floor is open to anyone else who wants to speak, knowing that, again, want to be respectful of other people's schedules, since we're all extraordinarily busy removing the billion tons of carbon from the atmosphere. Thoughts? Anyone? I'd just like to acknowledge, it's a bit of a general comment, but I just want to acknowledge all the people out there who are looking for a job in carbon removal. Just going back to my own personal journey in climate tech, clean tech in a broader sense. In 2009, 10, 11, I was looking for a job in, again, what then we know as clean tech 1.0. And, it took me 10 months to find a job. I did. And then 6 months later, the company had some issues and I got a pink slip 6 weeks before my wedding. And so when I hear stories about people who are looking for a job, trying to find that next role for themselves, I just want to acknowledge just how tough that can be. And I'm very grateful that you're still out, that you're out there, you're doing it, you're following your dream. And it can be very tough sometimes. And I just want to say that I respect that so much. And and that's why when people ask, I'd like to find a job, I'm always all ears, and I want to work on helping the workforce to develop in CDR to support people who just want to make a difference in their daily lives. So thank you for all that you all do. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. I'm going to stay on here, and happy Carbys. Please stay safe. Have a wonderful holiday season, however you may celebrate with you and your loved ones. And we'll keep on keeping on. Thank you.